French side who haven't done a huge amount over the last few years, but they have some promising players. They weren't great in Brazil, but on home soil and after the fairy tale of 98, I think they could be regarded as dark horses. They have Pogba running the things in central midfield. They have Matuidi, who plays for PSG, who's a really nutter, outstanding midfielder. They were very excited when they got this group. There'll be no excuses whatsoever if they don't come through this group pretty easily. The Swiss thing is interesting in that what they've done over the last few years, they've really looked to their migrant communities to bring in new players, and there were quite a few with Albanian links, and that is going to be interesting. Talent-wise, they have some nice players. Shaqiri, obviously, at Stoke, has coming off the back of a good season. Fabian Schär at Hoffenheim. They're the backbone of a decent group. Albania are remarkable. It's just an amazing story. They're going there with players that are playing at Lazio, Nantes, Cologne, Napoli. Not all of them are central to those teams, some of them are on the margins, but still they have players at good clubs. They have an experienced coach in Gianni Dubiasi, who has coached at serious level in Serie A. It's an amazing thing that they've got to that stage off the back of a very small population. The one thing you'd say about Romania is that they won a couple of decent games in the group stages, but ultimately they finished second in a group that was really there for the winning. It was a mad group. I mean, nobody would have anticipated Greece imploding to the extent that they did, but it was a group that seemed to be there for the winning for a decent side, and Romania on paper are a better side than Northern Ireland, but they haven't won, so that would suggest they're not that great.
The English national team is in a really interesting place at the moment, I think. They were desperately poor in the 2010 World Cup. They were just really boring in Euro 2012, and then the 2014 World Cup was a total disaster. So they've kind of been broken down to nothing. The pride is gone, and the interesting thing about them is that they suddenly have quite a good team again. So quarterfinals is just par. Roy Hodgson would dress it up as a success. It wouldn't really be. I think they have the potential to be better than that if they perform. There's not too much to excite you about Russia. I mean, the promising thing from their point of view is that they're no longer managed by Fabio Capello, who had proved that he was not a suitable coach for international football. Russia do have Artyom Dzyuba, who is the biggest kind of old school centre forward in the tournament, and not many teams are going to be playing with that type of attacker, so one for old Ashley Williams and Gary Cahill to get their heads around. Wales have got the best player in the group, and that makes a big difference in international football. I can't wait to see how Bale performs. He's under a lot of pressure, but throughout the qualification campaign, he seemed to love that. There's also players like Aaron Ramsey and Joe Allen, who's had a steadily improving season. So Wales do have some good players. I would expect them to get through the group because I think that Bale can make the difference for them in 2 out of 3 of these games. When you look at Slovakia, they've got Mark Hamsik, who's been threatening to be good for a long time, has had a good season with Napoli, but is yet to really stamp his authority, I think, on an international tournament. They qualified out of a pretty poor group, well behind Spain. I would expect that they and Russia would be the 2 teams most worried about going out at this stage. The odds are that Northern Ireland are going to suffer a fearful beating at the hands of teams like Poland and Germany. But this is the whole point of playing in the European Championships, is you get to play big games against the best teams, and that's what makes it worthwhile. They've obviously done exceptionally well to qualify. They do play as a team. I think that they've got a lot of the same qualities that the Republic of Ireland showed in their qualification campaign, but maybe just not quite the same depth of quality. Lewandowski is definitely the best striker in the tournament. I don't think there's any doubt about that. A player who's at the peak of his career with the chance to do something that his people are going to remember for a long time. Obviously in qualification, Poland did manage to beat Germany in Warsaw, and I wonder if this is going to be the time when they do it in the real tournament, because I expect them certainly to qualify from this group and maybe even to top it. I feel that the German team is currently experiencing the sort of entropy that is always going to happen to a team that's kind of been the best for a couple of years, and I don't think that they are anymore. They're expected to come home with the cup. Anything else is a disappointment. So there's a combination of sort of pressure on them, a team which has gone, I think, a little bit stale, a manager who's been there too long, and I just feel as though this isn't going to be Germany's year. There's no doubt that Ukraine have more talented players than Northern Ireland. That doesn't necessarily mean that they've got a better team or are going to beat them in any given game, but it does mean that they will expect to and that they should. And Ukraine will expect to finish at least third. They will think maybe it comes down to that match against Poland, because everybody looks at Germany and fears that they're just going to cruise past you no matter what the circumstance. But I think Ukraine will expect to at least finish third, which obviously would give them a chance of getting out of the group.
There are so many standout players in the Spanish side. There's Sergio Ramos, Juan Fran at the back, and two great defenders. Sergio Busquets in midfield is still one of the greatest midfielders in the game. They're likely to go with Alvaro Morata up front, and he's far from a sure bet to really do it for them in the Championship. But this is a group they should come out of fairly easily, and after that they should be really able to give anyone a game. It's interesting that Turkey are the most highly ranked of the other three teams, and the Turks finished third in a group that the Czechs were also in. So on the face of it, they haven't done that brilliantly in qualifying, and it seems to be another of those kind of odd things that the world rankings throw up. They don't have a huge number of big name players. They're a side made up of, you would say without being disrespectful, average enough players, but they have a hugely experienced manager in Feta Turan. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do. The Czechs, as I say, have finished 4 points ahead of them in qualifying. They don't have a whole lot of standout players either. The likes of Boris Stockholm with 4 goals against. Sparta Prague player is their top scorer. So again, they're not a standout team who will go there under the weight of any great expectation. Croatia, on the other hand, finished second in the group to Italy. Italy didn't manage to beat them home or away in the group. They have some really standout players. Modric and Rakitic are really outstanding players, and Mandzukic, as we probably remember from the year 2012, can do a lot of damage. They have the components there to really take it to any side, particularly the kind of attacking side of midfield. They should be very, very strong. So you would suspect that it would be them in Spain coming out of that group. We're in a better position than we were. Personnel-wise, not an enormous amount has changed in the 4 years, but under O'Neill, there are signs of the team developing stylistically in terms of playing a bit more football, retaining the ball a bit better. A win at any point would quite possibly get us into the second round, combined with the fact that we've beaten Germany, we've beaten Bosnia and Herzegovina. So I think there will be that sense amongst the squad that if push comes to shove, they're capable of pulling something out under pressure. Might not do it, but after beating Germany at home, anything's going to seem like a possibility. What the Belgians have done since the year 2000, when they had a pretty poor tournament as hosts and then took a long, hard look at themselves. And you see what happens when you put money and thought into this sort of stuff. We do have an incredible collection of players. Kevin De Bruyne, Eden Hazard, Romelu Lukaku, who's coming off a great season at Everton. So this could be the time when he announces his arrival at the very top table. The Italians, as so often the case, built on defensive strength. Buffon's still there, Bonucci and Chiellini in central defence. Really outstanding partnership, and they will be the kind of rock around which the team is built. But a real problem up front where they scored 16 goals in 10 games. But they played some really soft teams, and in most of the cases won the games reasonably convincingly, but not in goal terms. They didn't put anyone away really, and that will be a concern for them. Everybody knows where we are with Sweden. It is about what happens when Zlatan Ibrahimovic is around. We saw it in qualifying, he got 11 goals overall. He is, on paper, the difference between the sides. So you take him out of it, they're very similar. And so how we get on against them in the opening game, I think, depends on how Martin O'Neill looks to approach it and how much emphasis he puts on containing Ibrahimovic. You get the sense from him that he feels he has something to prove with these championships again, and that's something of concern. Yeah.